just wanna be free with my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see? I just wanna be free.
Okay. Another episode of the Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Camille Smith, and today we are having a premiere session, and I just had the honor to have someone, Andre Rose, to be able to come through and just talk about, it's it's funny. It's funny because he's like a perfect gem that came and wanted to talk about fitness. And I was like, you know what? I haven't talked about fitness in a while and wellness. And then I realized you have more in store than just fitness. And I'm like, what? All right, come. We need to talk. We have to talk and sit down about this. So welcome, Andre. Um,
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And it's a beautiful weekend and all that good stuff. And
By the way,
I know, happy Easter.
and
I
to
say
your
bun and cheese. I say bun and cheese all the time. And I know as a fitness person, you're probably not indulging in the bun and cheese or just a
question,
just
I am indulging like crazy. I love my bun and cheese. I love my bun and cheese. I'm sorry. I love my bun and cheese.
Hey, as long as you are staying fit and
A
able to,
Jamaican, a Jamaican, a Jamaican have to love them bun and cheese.
That's true. Oh man. And Andre, tell the folks who you are, because I feel like you're a man of with many hats.
Well, I'm Andre Rose, and I am the Director of Youth Engagement and Community Relations at the Walnut Foundation. Uh, um, Advisory Council to the Canadian Cancer Society and prostate cancer. I'm 43. I'm going to be 44 in a couple of months.
Oh my God.
I also work. I also work. My professional job is the materials coordinator at the product implementation and the company called Alstom, which purchased the rail division from Bombardier. So we offer service and maintenance to Go Transit.
Okay,
And
okay.
of course, I am a God-fearing person. I'm a driven individual. I'm hungry. I'm determined, and I
Mm,
just love to just anything fitness, health, and wellness.
okay. And what made you decide to get into fitness at first?
Actually, uh, at first, my employer at the time, while I
Mm-hmm.
was working in Jamaica, thought that it would be important to give his employees an opportunity, which is a benefit to go to the gym. Sometimes when they give you a perks or give you
Mm,
something of, added value.
yeah.
So he thought that this would be a best thing for him. So he gave the employees 2 days a week to go to the gym. And when I went into the gym, I was like this scrawny little guy, it was like, okay. And there was just something that clicked, it
Mm,
clicked.
yeah.
And I've been doing it for 21 years consistently,
Damn. That, wow.
so I got on that journey. And when I
Hmm.
got on the journey, I, at first, just like, it was intimidating at first.
Hmm.
But as I get more and more into loving it, I
Yeah.
realize that it becomes much easier and easier as goes by. You know,
Indeed,
when I
indeed.
moved here to Canada in 2013, I competed professionally as a professional bodybuilder. So I'm a professional bodybuilder as well too.
Okay. So where are places that people can see you?
And Instagram, of course,
Yes.
the Andre Rose Fitness
Okay.
is my Instagram handle.
Mm-hmm.
That's where individual can find my page. And that's where I do my posting. And that's, of course, there as well, individual can go to the link tree and they can find, learn more about what Andre Rose do, because I'm also, other stuff that we'll be talking about as well in
Yeah.
the show. But the LinkedIn link tree is
Yes.
actually one of the displays that individual can connect with me
Awesome.
based on the services I offer and
Nice.
products.
Nice. And then, so when you came here, you were having your fitness journey, you became a bodybuilder, and how did that, how did you get fitness and like the community work working intertwined and all that good stuff? Because I feel like you're a busy man.
Yeah, I'm actually a busy man, but in 2017, and that's after when I started my own underwear business, I went and to a networking event that I went to, and at
Mhm.
that point I felt I wanted to become a published writer. I wanted to write an underwear because I felt at the time that underwear was just it was the first book I wrote was called Buns of Steel, men's underwear in a changing world, because I realized
Mhm.
that underwear was changing, in such a fast pace. It's no longer tidy whities, you go into, the bay, you were seeing underwear in a mainstream, what you would have probably seen in like sex shops and stuff like that. No, I
Mhm.
was seeing those in mainstream, and I was like, I was really taken aback, because
Mhm.
and this was actually doing, a lot of the research that I was doing before I started my underwear, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, I wanted to write something about this of what I was seeing, that I was actually, an underwear owner. And when I did that, one of my mentor at the time says to me, "Well, who's going to read book on under? Who's going to read a book on underwear?" And it's just like, I think you're right. And then what I did was that I flipped the title of the books. I kept the same Buns of Steel underwear, because being as it that I was fully into fitness, and fitness was really my passion. Says,
Yeah.
why don't you write on fitness? So I went and I kept the still title Buns of Steel, but
Mhm.
then the subtitle, the Unstoppable Pursuit of Fitness, right? So I evolved the book from around underwear, then now I wrote on fitness, right? And then
Yes.
when I was in 2017, in 2000, early 2019, when I sent the book, before it went to publish, I sent it to
Mhm.
a friend of mine who was a journalist, and I said, "Can you do a little proofreading on this book for me? Tell me a little bit, because I wanted to hear what you said." And because I had already dedicated the book to my grandfather, who passed away from prostate cancer, he said to me,
Mhm.
"I think there's this organization that I wanted to connect you with." And I said, "Okay, what's the name of the organization?" And he says the name of the organization is called the Walnut Foundation. I said, Walnut Foundation. So, yeah. So Walnut, it's an organization that deals with men of color and prostate cancer. I think you should reach out to them, see what, how, probably this would be a good fit for you, X, Y, and Z. And I said, okay. And I reached out to them
Yeah.
uh, in February of 2019, when I was going to launch my book, and this is after when the book went into editing, formatting, and went into
Yeah.
publication. Then I invited them to come to my book launch, because I did have a book launch, and I invited the organization to come. They
Mhm.
came and they were very impressed with what I had on display, and the level of men that I was touching just by coming to my book launch alone. So they thought that would be a good fit for me to be a part of the organization. And that's what, hence, in 2019, they asked me to be on the board of directors of the organization. So I was just like, no, I think it was in February after the book launch they asked me, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't join, and then until December at the end of 2019, they asked me in full officially, would you be
Yeah.
willing to be part of the organization on the board of director as director of youth engagement and community
Nice.
director of youth engagement and community relations? And I said, okay, sure,
Yeah.
and that's been now 2.5 years, going 3 years now since I've been
Mhm.
the organization in this capacity.
And you know what I love that I'm hearing is that not only was it based on like dedicating it to your grandpa, rest in peace to him, is that you knew something, or the passion that you had about the book and fitness and also relating it with your family is that that's what corresponded with the, or not corresponded, it connected with them to say like, hey, you have a passion about it, and I feel like fitness is, it goes intertwined with it as well, and you're
Yeah,
able to,
absolutely, because it's all about fitness, right?
yes,
It's all about health in general,
yes,
right? So
absolutely,
the umbrella of it is health, but then
correct.
fitness is a huge impact into, the overall man himself, right? Because if the man take care of himself, then, and we're not talking about just going to the gym and lifting weights now. We're talking about ensuring that you're doing. And then we will talk about this more as we
Yeah.
go, because from being in the community and what I've learned and what I've observed, there's
Mm-hmm.
a there's just so much, there's such a level of,
Yeah,
like they are so unbothered, which they should be bothered, by the level of the epidemic that is going within the Black community, around men of color, around the whole
exactly.
health issue, the health itself, right? But what more so as it relates to prostate cancer, because prostate cancer is the second cause of death in Ontario, and it's the fourth cause of death in Canada, right? And
Wow.
it is Black men are 76% more at risk of dying from prostate cancer than anybody else, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I
So going out
know,
and seeing those stuff, like, really bring home to me, like, wow, it's like shocking.
yeah, because like not to put my dad's business out or anything, but he had it as well, but he um beat it.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. But like how, and now I'm gonna ask you the question because I guess I'm being obviously because women don't usually have prostate cancer, and I'm not into that realm of knowing. So please let me know, like, is, you said that it comes with health and fitness, so how does having fitness work with like prostate cancer and lowering the chances of getting it? Does it correspond with it?
No, but so they're not so much of a lowering,
Okay,
because all man has prostate,
correct.
right? Every man has a prostate. But what make it more dangerous is when a man, especially if it's hereditary, right?
Right.
So me as director of youth engagement, my job for the organization is to speak to young men in their 40s like me,
Hmm.
to say to them, go get tested early, because if you test early, then you know what risk you are at,
True.
especially if you have it within your family, right? Because
True.
what the doctor in Ontario says is that, oh, at 50, right? But
Mm,
us as the organization, the Walnut Foundation, say test at 40, because if you test at 40, I've tested twice already
yeah.
since because I'm going to be 44 in this year. So I've tested twice. I just did my test a couple of weeks ago at a health
Hmm.
fair at Taibu Health Center in Scarborough, right? So having my numbers early, which is called the PSA, the prostate specific antigen, which is what you need to know early.
Oof.
So
I'm gonna
once you
write
know
that
the
down.
once you know the prostate specific antigen PSA level, then what you get is called a glycan score. So you know your glycan score, and then the
Yes.
glycan score is you're now able to monitor as you're aging, right?
Hmm.
So if the glycan score spikes, then you know something is definitely wrong, right? And then what
Correct.
that does is that the doctor will put you on something that's called an active surveillance, right? So once
Hmm.
you go on an active surveillance, then you're able to keep a track, which is what I personally call a doctor's report, right? So I create something for myself that's called a doctor's report. And it's
Yes.
not just about going to get my prostate, but it's also about when I go to get my heart check, get my eyes check, my teeth health. When was the last time I went to go get a teeth check?
Yeah.
So I am fully in tune with what's happening with my body. So as it relates to how fitness affects prostate, right? Now, what happens is that when the guy goes, for instance, he's in his 60s and he go for a surgery, right? Because what you have happened is that if an individual is now having prostate cancer, what would have happened is that they would do something that's called brachytherapy, or they can do the surgery. Surgery is when they remove it.
Hmm.
Brachytherapy is when they insert some small pebbles into the
Yes.
prostate, and it radiates, like sensory that goes out into the prostate and kill the cells into the prostate, right?
Okay.
So doing that, then now you're able to now, track as you're aging, because you know that, okay, you're doing the active surveillance, so you're on that, and you're
Mm-hmm.
basically that, okay. And then if you now do the surgery,
Yes.
then the exercise part of it comes just like women do Kegel, right? What they now teach is that they teach the men to do the Kegel, because
Mm-hmm.
what you have happen is that the man now, he cannot keep his urine because he doesn't have any feelings down there, right?
Yes.
So he will wear Pampers
Mm-hmm.
because he's not because he can't feel, right? So doing the Kegel exercise and contracting the muscles, right? So,
Fitness.
and it's the
Yep.
same thing with exercise. So basically you're contracting the muscles to try to keep the muscles tight, right? I'll share a story just a couple of weeks ago. Went
Mm-hmm.
into a restaurant because we have um our annual walkathon coming up, which is the major fundraiser for the organization, the Walnut Foundation. And I will talk more about the walkathon as well too, and the work that we do and how the money we raise, what it does, and stuff like that. I walk into this restaurant, and just to see whether or not if the restaurant would be willing to donate to the organization,
Mm-hmm.
because of the work that we're doing. And there is it that there was this black man that was coming from the counter. And when he
Yeah.
came around from the counter, he was going to the washroom.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, back in January, he had a surgery for prostate cancer. 4 persons from his family have prostate cancer. He was going to the
Golly.
washroom. Why? He was going to change his pampers because he just wet himself. He he he
Mm.
he wet himself, right? And there was it that I had an opportunity to talk to someone who
Yeah.
is literally, it was, to
In
me, it
that
was just like,
situation.
it was just in the situation. It was just like, oh my word, right?
Yeah.
That here's it that I literally went in there to talk to about whether or not they would be interested to donate to the organization. And then the literal person that I was talking to himself is going through the same situation. He literally wet himself, and the reason why he was on his way to the bathroom to go and change his pampers,
Golly.
right?
Yeah.
To me, I was able to teach him some exercise, the
Yes.
Kegel exercise. I'm not sure if when when they call it the butt bridge, when they turn, those butt bridge, and you just, you're able to
Yes.
lie and lift the hip upwards. So I was
Mm-hmm.
able to teach him some simple exercise, the
Yes.
plank, holding this is all about holding the abdominal muscles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In my exercise, there's 3 techniques I teach within my exercise, and this is free information I'm giving you now because people are gonna pay like much hundreds of dollars for this I'm giving. So 3 techniques I teach in my exercise:
Yeah.
breathing,
Mm-hmm.
your the holding the pelvic floor, and
Yep.
contracting the muscles. Right. So
Okay.
if you're able to breathe while you're
Mm-hmm.
doing breathing through the nostril,
Mm-hmm. While you're doing that.
contracting the abdominal, and
Mm-hmm.
then squeeze onto the pelvic floor, right? So
Okay.
you're doing those 3 muscles, muscle technique at the same time. Because you have the rest 3 muscles you're teaching right there.
Yeah, and
So
you're
these are three important muscles you're teaching, right? So I was able to teach him those exercises, right?
nice.
That he was probably not able to see how he can actually help himself, because we really don't find that there is any specific exercise that prevents prostate cancer, because all men
Okay.
have prostate cancer.
Yes. Oh man. Well, were did they agree to fundraising?
Well, because the restaurant wasn't his, but I did give the
Ah,
information. I did pass the information on to
okay.
him, to pass it on to. So it's just for me now to go back and check,
Follow up.
to see whether or not, because he was willing to get some of his brothers, the same individuals who had prostate cancer, to actually
To
come out and to come to our walk that we're hosting.
nice. Well, I'm hoping that they attend because they fully relate. And I'm glad you mentioned it to me because I know it was 2008, 2009 that my dad had to deal with it, but I never knew that much information because obviously like, women problems, men problems. But it is good. I'm glad that we're talking about this because it is important, especially for our community, because if it's The second cause of death in over
Ontario,
in Ontario, and the
and the
fourth,
fourth in Canada.
Canada. Ooh, folks. And I've heard of friends or people I know that they their fathers or grandfathers didn't make it. So I'm happy that we're having this discussion because I think it's an important discussion to talk about. And I'm glad that you're, instead of listening to what like the government says and says, oh yeah, do it at 50. 40 is actually a really good age. And I guess, how do you encourage the youths, especially the black youths, because I know how men are with doctors. Com how do you convince them or suggest to them that they should be more serious about their wellness and all that good stuff?
Well, one of the things that I do is I show them the statistics or the
Hmm.
data. We talk about the data.
Yes.
And as I'm going through those datas, giving them the cause and the
Yes.
effect,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
Because the cause is one, but what is it that you're going to do as the effect to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right?
Hmm.
Because what we're wanting to do is to change, that resistance. Because the older man talk about, oh, want the finger go up because it's gonna make him gay, it's gonna him put it, if him do anything down yasso, it's gonna,
Mm.
no want no man touch down yasso. So what we are doing is that we're working with the younger youth to bring that awareness to them, right? So what I'm doing is to find spaces because I do it, but I do it on a one-to-one basis for those that I see and I'm able to talk to.
Yes.
Now I'm at a different space now where I am evolving around creating areas
Yes.
where I am now able to talk to, youth where I'm looking to do other stuff
Hmm.
to be in this space as a director of youth engagement to
Yes.
bring young men, so on uh July 15th event that I told you, the networking event that I told you about.
Yes.
So that specific event that I'm going to be doing is called Party for a Cause, right? So Party
Hmm.
for a Cause is around raising awareness and education
Yes.
around men of color within prostate cancer. And this is where it's a public event that I'm going to be hosting. I'm going to be bringing the community, young men, to come out to, have a conversation around health and wellness because we just don't want to talk just about prostate cancer. We want to talk about, all of the areas as it relates to the man. Because when you talk about um, somebody get diagnosed with prostate cancer, where do they go to get information? You understand me? Where do you
True.
go to get information? Where is that first place? And that's exactly how the Walnut Foundation came about. Because the two founders who founded the organization, when they were diagnosed with prostate cancer, they
Hmm.
were looking, they didn't know where to go to get information.
True.
You understand? So the Walnut Foundation is around for the last 15 years, but still a lot of people don't know about the organization that exists, right?
Hmm.
So what we're doing is that we're raising the awareness, but as the umbrella part of what I am doing is to now create a section that's called Party for a Cause because young people love party. But we're creating that part where they're able to come out
Yes.
and, still party, but at the same time you're learning at the same time, so education part and an awareness part of it at the same time.
Nice, because we love, love, love party, and you know what? As long as you're able to bring out the awareness, especially, I'm happy. I'm happy to hear this because there is a stigma in the community that like, oh, you know what, no man, like it's outrageous. Like, so you rather
Fine.
not know
Like
about
Bob
you.
Marley. That's what I say all the time. When they say anything, I say, oh, so you rather die like Bob Marley than you try to save your life. I use that every time, and I without no apology, right? If without no apology that he
Mm,
could have saved his life if he
true.
did not do whatever he needed to do. He could have saved. We could have still right? Probably
Yes.
me that live in a but you never dey walk up do no surgery, never man match man. This is the same thing that's happening right now.
It's true.
Is a macho-ness is killing a lot of men, right? Especially the Caribbean man, especially the Jamaican man, because him too
Mhm.
macho. You understand me? Him no want to go talk to the doctor. Because listen, we've gone to numerous occasions of events where we go to health fairs. This year alone, I probably to probably 8 health fair already I've been to this year,
Golly, since April.
right? Only in April,
Mhm.
right? And is able to be a part of the organization, the Walnut Foundation, to table with information.
Mhm.
Last month, no, yeah, last month
Yes.
we had a we had a symposium at the Jamaican Canadian Association with
Nice.
men, just men alone, right? Around
Mhm.
profit, right?
How was the
So we're
turnout?
going. I think online we had about 11 persons online
Okay.
or at the center, from what I could see within the perimeter, I'll probably say about 15 people, right?
That's still
Which
better.
took not bad, right?
Yeah,
But I should have been much better, right?
I
I think
agree.
it should have been much better. But the conversation, I think, needs to be continued to be had in
Mhm.
spaces like those where men go, right? That it continues. It's not just a one-off thing. You know, it's just like, okay, how can we find ways to make those conversations continue?
Normalized.
You know, normalize those conversations, right?
Mhm.
So being at the health fairs, if you amount of women, know the amount of women who come, because women are always the one, because they're the caregivers, right? They're the ones who are always the caregivers. They're always the one who suffer. And when I say suffer, you're not just sex, you're not just suffer from hearing the man about. You also suffer from the right. So when you go up, it drop. You understand me? It don't have no extended stand, right?
Mm.
It drop. You understand me? Because why? Him
Mhm.
not no performance. And that's exactly what some of the women then come and say, why not tell the man themselves if so but this is the reason why we are here. This is the reason why we are here. We're here for this specific reason to see how is it that we can bring the information to the man. But it
Mm.
all happen that it's most of the time it's women who come. And if you would hear the women who talk about their grandfather, their brother, their uncle, their father, who have prostate cancer. Some of them who have recovered from prostate cancer. Some of them
Mhm.
who have died from prostate cancer,
Mhm.
right? So, I know we are talking a lot about prostate cancer.
No, but I love it because this needs to be spoken about.
You know,
Like that's
yeah,
why I'm rolling with it. I'm listening.
yeah,
I'm engaged.
yeah. So, finding that we're here in the community, to bring this information around that,
Yes.
so we are now in so much research that we have done, our annual walkathon that we do. What we
Mhm.
have done the last year is that we're creating an endowment fund at the University of Toronto, where we're giving a
Mm.
black student $26,000, right? Why? Because we realize that in Ontario, there is only one black urologist in Ontario, right? So what we say to the black student is that, hey, we're not saying to you go do this, but we're telling you that there is only one black. Would you consider this route, right?
Yes.
Change the outcome, because the one thing that you need first, right,
Mhm.
is to have a neurologist and a blood test, because you do the blood test to get the PSA test, right?
Yes.
And you also do a urine test as well, right?
Mhm.
And we will talk, just remember me to
Yes.
also talk about some of the symptoms. What are some of the symptoms that a man should look for when
Yes.
if he's at risk of prostate cancer? What are some of those risks that what are some of those symptoms that he needs to look for? Right. So we created the $26,000 at the university. We said to
Mhm.
the black student, here's the $26,000, right?
Yes.
And this is from the annual walkathon that we do on the 3rd of June. Every year we do have an annual walkathon
3rd of
in
June.
Brampton, in Loafers Lake in Brampton, right? Where we get the community to around awareness and so forth within the community. We
Mm-hmm.
we work with Movember. We work with the Princess
Yes.
Margaret Hospital. We
Mm-hmm.
work with Sunnybrook Hospital at the Toronto University of Toronto with Dr. Aisha Lofter, where the organization has just we partnered a study with her around uh, uh, where the genealogy comes
Yes.
from, right? So what we found is that it comes from West Africa and from the Caribbean, right? Most men from West Africa and the Caribbean are
Mm-hmm.
at greater risk of developing prostate cancer, right?
Yeah.
So now what we're doing is to go into further studies to find out why, right? Why is that, right? Because we don't know, right? So we're
Yes.
now going into further studies to find out those stuff. We also created uh, we installed a bench in Brampton in the area where we do the walk in Brampton, right?
Okay.
In honor of the late founder, because the late founder, Dr. Winston Isaac, he himself had actually passed away from passed away last year. I'm not gonna say past the guess because I don't know specifically
Mm-hmm.
what, but I know he did die about 3 years ago. He did die, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we installed a bench in Brampton in his honor. So there's a lot of work that the organization is doing. So in Brampton, we're known, like, within the Ash Brown and, the member of parliament. Uh,
Yes.
what happened too is that the simple blood test is not covered by OHIP if you're not at risk if you're not family risk. So like
Okay.
me, who is like, oh no, there's no great risk for me around prostate cancer, then my OHIP does not cover it. I have to pay from my pocket.
Okay.
So we went
Ooh.
to the Ontario legislature just a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
where a private member motion was introduced by Wayne 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 something from the Niagara Falls region, the member of parliament, NDP member
Mm-hmm.
of parliament in Niagara Falls region, introduced a private member motion to have the provincial government pay the $35 OHIP to cover that $35. That's which what happened is that most
Sorry.
individuals that are that's okay. Most individuals that are at risk are low income people, right? Black people that are at risk because sometimes, as the minister said, I shouldn't have said it, as the member of parliament said, is that
Mm-hmm.
$35 may be okay for us, but for
Yes.
some people, $35 is a big issue because you have to choose whether or not you're going to use that $35 to pay your phone bill or buy some food or you're going to get a test. So all we're asking is
Mm-hmm.
to, you
Cover
know,
it.
have it the OHIP cover this $35. So and I would say to your viewers is pressure your member of parliament, pressure your member of parliament. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was sort of a bit of an eye-opener too, because when the private member motion was being introduced, prior to that, I met quite a bit of Black member of parliament who are conservative people.
Yeah.
And when that private member motion was introduced, none of those Black people never inside of the room to stand up and say, yes, let,
Wow.
let me be a part of this to make sure that my Black constituents are able to get health care because it is important, right? So
Mm.
what we realize that because they're not willing to do that, we have to find ways in which. So what we do is that we say to individuals is that if you become a member of the Walnut Foundation, which your only membership is just $10 a year,
Ah,
right? So you pay that $10 a
come on,
year.
folks.
If you do that test,
Yes.
we give you back that $35, right? So in any case, you end up getting $25 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
an
understand?
incentive.
That's an incentive, right? So individuals can go check out the Walnut Foundation, which is the Walnut Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
right, .com, or email the Walnut Foundation, which is info@walnutfoundation.com, right?
I'll definitely put the that in the show notes so people are able to connect because especially to all the viewers that are Black men, make sure I want to see June 3rd, especially. I want to see more folks there and also join. I'm going to put the heat on the guys. Like,
Yeah, because it's important. It's a very important uh, paused, right?
It is.
So I realized that you know, the work is very, very, very important, right?
Mm.
And if I can save one life, I feel like, because before, I mean, I had purpose because as I talk about, you know, I'm a writer, I have my own underwear, you know,
Mm.
and my book and my job and stuff like that. But before, I never really felt like I had purpose. But now, I feel like there is something that I'm called to do, right?
Yes.
And because there is actually a need, there's a need,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Need for the change in the man to know himself and understand that his health comes first, right? And
Especially for the family and
if I'm able
himself.
to be that mouthpiece or one of that mouthpiece, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to continue to do the work around men's health and prostate cancer, then you know I feel like I'd have done. And when I done my dash,
Yes.
I can say you know, they can say, oh, his passion was around mental health,
Yes.
in particularly prostate cancer. Because
Exactly.
I remember as a young boy growing up in Jamaica, and I would see my grandfather with this big thing, they call it horse, right? At his side. And they always say, oh, you know. And then I was realizing that, okay. And then my grandmother said, boy, I don't eat out of pot because if you eat out of pot, you'll get stoppage of water. What is stoppage of water? So I never did know exactly what that was. But now, because I've been on a part of the organization, I can tell
Mm.
you what stoppage of water is, right?
God.
So the symptoms, which is what I ask you to remember me to
Yes.
remind the viewers, is that the symptoms are back pain, blood in the semen, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
some men probably with masturbate, you know, say we'll see blood in the semen. Or when you go to the washroom to pee, you realize that the pee not, you know, sometimes it's not straight, it drips.
Mm.
So that's what the stoppage of
Mm.
water comes. Or you realize that you're constantly waking up to go to bed, especially if you don't go at night. So when you go to bed at night, sleep, right? You wake up like two, three times throughout the night. You wake up to go to the washroom. So you can't because the urinary tract has become now swollen. So you're at the stage of the prostate now becoming malignant. So
Yes.
it's pressing against the urinary tract is being swollen and it's pressing against the you know the
Mm-hmm.
so basically it's causing that pain. You know,
And
you're peeing
causing
so
to
much,
always.
the constant, you know, so those are the symptoms that man, you know, would look for to
Mm-hmm.
understand that if he has prostate cancer, and not necessarily just those signs, because from a simple blood test as well would tell you if
Mm-hmm.
you go, which is very, very, very important, is just to go and get the blood test. If your doctor tell you don't, you know, you're not ready for it yet, listen, no, find somebody else who will do it for you. You understand me? Find someone, because when I
Exactly.
went to my doctor, I was 41 years old when I went to my doctor. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
why do you want to say? Because I'm a part of the Walnut Foundation. The Walnut Foundation is a non-profit organization that deals with specific with men of color on prostate cancer. My grandfather died from prostate cancer, and I want to make sure he said I get my test. It is
Exactly.
right.
Sure.
We don't have them the conversations and no more, right?
Yeah.
It's just as a simple test. Some men probably afraid for the blood test, but if you're afraid of the blood test, don't look at it. Just give them the hand. You understand me? I mean, them take it and take the blood because you have
Yeah.
saved the life. Don't be like Bob Marley, right?
Mm.
Don't be like yeah. Don't you know save your life.
And I think you said I'm only going to say this as a joke because the women suffer because the performance isn't up to par. I think that's the most important thing to tell guys. So they're like, don't you want to have a good performance? So get checked out.
Exactly.
Because that's
Literally,
one thing.
I was at the Ontario Black History Society luncheon. And a
Hmm.
lady, we were there tabling, and a lady came up to me. She wasn't like, man, I was in Jamaica. And if you hear the man, them a talk, you know, the man, they can't even perform, you know, they try to say, but they can't help the man there, because the man, she was going on and on and on. I was like, oh my God, you know,
Mm.
because, and there are other stories, right?
Hmm.
Because when you're out in the public
Yeah,
doing this work and they have never seen it before, and when they come up and ask you, what is this about? Because the Walnut Foundation,
it looks like.
it's really that's the sign.
Yeah.
It's the sign of a walnut. You know, so we literally the walnut. So when they see it and they say, "Oh, that's what it looks like," right?
Hmm.
They say, "Oh, is that?" I say, "Yes, that's it. It's the walnut." right? So then they're just like, okay, well, then it's a conversation piece. And then when they come, they tell you that they know somebody
That
who within
has.
your family who have had it, who have suffered
Mm-hmm.
from it, who have died from it, right? And continue to do the work, continue to be out here, continue to spread your word because it is needed, right?
Yes.
And if we know, and I would say as well to at the organization, if any man is recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, there
Mm.
is a monthly support group that is offered for
Okay.
individuals to come to talk in an open
Mm-hmm.
space, right?
Yes.
Just men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer or have just recently diagnosed with prostate and just need to talk or just need to get some information. How do I do this? How do I do that? Right? What do I do in that regard? The organization is there to help provide that resource. We also have a monthly meeting where we have with a
Mm-hmm.
general meeting. This
Yeah.
is where we bring experts to come in and speak to the members of the organization, right? So we do a monthly, a yearly walkathon. We do a yearly symposium. We do a yearly conference, right? And this is where we get experts as well as here as well to come and talk about, the different situations that affects the man, right?
Okay. So I wrote these down because I'm so happy we've had this conversation. Like you don't even understand because I I think about like my dad, I think about my brother, I think about my uncles and friends, and I'm just like they need to hear this because the stigma about men and health, they don't like talking about it, but if I now that I found a place where they can have a safe space to talk about it and normalize it, I'm ecstatic because
Yeah.
that's the thing I'm all about. And so I'm happy that it just took just like one of your passions to form it into another passion, and that's the art of networking. Like,
Yes.
and I know you call yourself the networking king. So like
Yes.
what other how have you utilized networking with like fitness and wellness and and you're author too. I don't know why you don't call yourself an author. You're an
Well,
author.
the networking for me, what I find, I use it to build different umbrellas of me personally, what I do, because
Mm.
I have also a yearly wellness retreat that I host, which is a
Okay.
Rebound Wellness Experience. We're on Instagram. You can go follow me, guys. Go look we are because right
Mm.
now we're actually looking for sponsors, vendors, and attendees to come to our retreat this year. We're going to be at Dinka Farm, which is 3347 1213 Side Road in the town of New Lowell, Barrie, Ontario. This
Golly,
year's
so
retreat,
far up.
yes, only 90 minutes drive from Toronto.
Fair enough.
Under this year's theme, get
Hmm.
out of the fog.
Get out of the
Get
fog.
out of the fog. It's Caribana weekend.
Ah! That will be, I know it will be worthwhile. So that definitely needs to be like a lot of advertising and stuff.
So the concept of the retreat was that I started it during the pandemic, and I must say, my personal goal for the Walnut Foundation annual walkathon is to raise $5,000, right?
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
so the retreat is not just about a retreat around health, but it's also a fundraiser as well. I'm raising
Okay.
funds for the organization. My personal goal is to raise 5,000. So far, I've raised 800 and $895 I've raised so far.
Okay,
So
so we're gonna push that up. We
yeah.
are going to push
So
that
that's
up.
the personal goal. The personal goal is to raise $5,000. And the
Mm-hmm.
retreat is a way of also where I also raise money as well. What I created a 50-50 raffle session, part of it,
Okay.
where
Nice.
I get gifts from different organizations, different people, and I raffle
Mm-hmm.
those gifts and I raise money for the organization. Right. So I figured, okay, in the networking part of it now was that somebody brought me to this Adinka Farm space And when I went there and I saw the space, I was like, my God, this place is big. It's a black owned land. And it's just like when they told me, when the owner called me, Williams told me, and Janelle, they told me about
Mhm.
the vision of what they have for the property. I was just
Yeah.
like, I want to be a part of this. I want to
Yeah.
be a part of this.
And it's black
So,
owned? What?
and it's black owned. So, and I said, okay. And I hosted the first retreat. Then
Mhm.
I had about 40 something people who came. This year, I'm hoping to have 100 people this year. This year is going to be bigger. It's going to be better. It's
Yeah.
much more organized. Yeah, it's going to, we have Dangle Fit, Dangle Fit is the signature event of the retreat, which is a here exercise that decompresses the spine. So for people who sit a lot, it decompresses the spine, so it elongates the spine, right? So you're turned
Mhm.
upside down in a hammock. So if you go to the Rebound Wellness retreat page, which is the Rebound Wellness Experience page, Instagram page, or the website, which is uh, the Rebound Wellness retreat page, you will find and learn about the Dangle Fit uh, uh, back here exercise yoga. I think it says it's a back here yoga. So you turn
Mhm.
upside down and
Yeah.
that. And on top of that, we have a nature walk. We're gonna have forest breathing. We're gonna have boot camp. We're gonna have a session on brain health. We're gonna have a section on prostate cancer because the Walnut Foundation is going to be there.
Mhm.
Healthy lunch is going to be provided, right? A breakfast is going to be provided, and we're even growing our own food for this
What?
retreat,
Eh,
right?
eh.
So we're growing our own food for the retreat. So no,
Yeah.
so we are so invest in ensuring that we continue to stay on the path of health and wellness. That we're even growing our own food. Right now, we just planted cucumber, carrots, tomatoes, all of those kind of stuff we plant already in the
Okay, so they're
germinating stage.
ready. Yes.
Germinating stage to get those out into the thing, and then to have other ones to do along the time that they don't come too ready too fast, right? So we'll still have some. So whatever plant now, we will still have some additional backup to go now.
Yeah.
So that's what the retreat is about, right? So, and that's what happened from networking. The underwear was a love, right? I had a love for underwear because I started to go to the gym and I realized that my legs were being too, the crotch of my pants was disappearing. I was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I am gonna go try some again. And I went. And this is after when I read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right? He
Holy,
said
this
it's not the
is
content that sells the book, it's actually the
yeah.
title, right? That sells it. And one day I was just like there and just like, you know what? And I went to a friend of mine and I said, you know what? I think I want to own my own underwear company because at this point I think I look good enough to be on the cover, of my own underwear box, which in fact I am, right?
Yeah.
And I did very well. For the first year, I started the business with only 250 Canadian dollars. And in the first
Mhm.
year, I sold over $17,000 of underwear in the first year, right? And that was 2015. In
Yeah.
year three, I had
Yeah.
the Toronto Firefighters as models, year three, right? So I had them in my calendar. The brand was in their calendar in 2018 and 2019. The pandemic came and destroyed a lot of things.
Dang.
In 1920, when the pandemic, we were in 4 retail stores in
Mm.
Canada and one in the United States, right? And we were shipping as far as Germany. And
Wow.
I was on the path of moving our operation because the products are made here in Canada. And I was
Mm.
on the path of moving the operation from Canada to China. And then when I went into supply chain management, I realized that there were going to be a lot of obstacles and hurdles I would have faced, as learning from the back end, how import export work. Even though I had an import export license for my business, I
Yeah.
realized that there was so much stuff that I would have fallen short of because one, you needed a certain amount of money in the terms of when you're going to be buying volume products, to
True.
go first to that. And then you have to have that money in the bank. And then
Mhm.
this bank speak to this bank. So it's not like, okay, which I think probably the system is there where you could actually send the money directly to the manufacturer,
Yeah,
right?
because there's a wire transfer
Right,
and all
right.
that
Which is
stuff.
what I learned learned afterwards that you don't necessarily have to go through the bank to send the money. You can do like
Mm.
other ways of finding. But then when I did my course in supply chain management, I realized that when you talk about the bank, the importer, the exporter, the bank speak to each other. then the
Yes.
government now need to know where you get this money from, right?
Especially
To pay
after a
this,
certain
pay
amount.
here,
Yeah.
yeah, or insurance, because if what if like what happened with the everybody that ship that stuck in green line, that
Oh,
ship that
yeah.
got stuck in the middle of in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have all that products at sea, right, or
Yes.
pirates run the ship
How
off,
are you
and
gonna
then you
have
want to get,
insurance?
you need insurance, right? So I
Yeah.
realized there are a lot of factors that I was going to, plus a lot of factors that was going to involve, right, with
Mhm.
that shipping part. And then now when they come to customs, right, you're
Yes.
going to need a customs broker actually broker that product for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when you talk about the FMN, which is most favored nation, which part the product is coming from, that when you're creating uh, shipping when you're creating that shipping label, shipping invoice,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
because like so you need to know where that item is coming from, that you're getting the cheapest, cheapest product, because anything that comes in foreign is probably from Russia. Now you know that there's no item that can't come in from Russia no more, or it's can't nothing you can't come in uh, uh the next one here, South Korea, so
Uh,
no, not
or
Korea,
North
North
Korea. North Korea. Because
North
I was
Korea.
like, no, they
Those
don't.
places you can import stuff from those, because if you do, you're paying like 100%, or the duty that you're paying
It's crazy.
is crazy. So there's a lot of stuff that I learned when I went back to do supply chain management as it relates to my
Nice.
underwear and
And I love how it
networking.
relates. I actually love how like you having your underwear and then getting the I'm gonna say degree
Yes,
for the supply chain, and it intertwines
it
because you're even
intertwines.
learning more.
Yes,
And it's what's funny is because you don't have to always be in the same industry to be able to have things intertwine, because you're like fitness, supply chain is kind of different, but it still works in hand. That how did
it's like
how
building
did you
blocks.
figure that out, sir?
Well, honestly, is it's what I find is that it's not so much how did I figure it out, is where I
Mm,
realize that I'm an entrepreneur by heart, right? I am
yes.
one of those persons who I'm an intuitive person, right?
Okay.
So I'm always thinking about what is next, what's
Yes.
next. So you
Mm,
realize that you say, oh, at the beginning, you wear so many hats, because I can't keep quiet, right? And plus I do personal training on the side too. I do have personal training clients. I have
yes.
clients that I wake
Mm,
up this morning at 8 o'clock to go personal train, because I
yes.
have those people that pay me big bucks, to
To
because they
look
want to look,
good.
they want to look like me. It's just like they're gonna hire me. I was just like, okay, if you're gonna pay me for just an hour to train
Mhm,
you, that's an additional income to my pocket, because I want to travel. I like to go to the 360 restaurant to have dinner. I like to take
mm,
my friends out. I like to entertain, so where that money is gonna come from, right? So I use the streams of income that I have to live my lifestyle, right? And at the same time, find ways in which that I can actually give back. So give back in terms of the Walnut Foundation and giving back my time, right?
exactly.
So the Andre Rose brand itself, which some people say,
Hmm.
oh, don't say the brand, but for me, I think it's a
But you
brand,
have a
right?
brand.
Where the benevolent part of what I do is
Mhm,
the being a part of the organization, is the giving back part. Because what I do when I go out to table at
mhm,
events to sell my underwear, I have a jar here that I'm collecting money for the organization, right? So my brand itself is for a cause, right?
correct.
So it's an underwear with a cause. So the underwear basically, which I realize is just a conversation piece, but it's using the
Oh,
underwear
it definitely
to,
is.
to bring, the in piece to
Yes,
to to talk about men's health and
correct.
its importance, right?
I'm still stuck on the firefighters calendar and stuff. How do
Yeah.
I?
So that part of it was when the underwear got into a when someone from a
Mhm,
networking event that I went to, say
yes.
I have a cousin who owns a store, which is I think it was a sex shop. Yeah,
Hmm.
sex shop. So they own a sex shop. I'm going to introduce you to them. This is where you're gonna go. You just go down there. They're gonna expect you. And I
Yeah.
went there. So the underwear got into the store. And it was there for a while, and then there were going to be the sex show that was going to happen at the in
Um, downtown, isn't it?
this one is not in downtown. This one was in the metro, not the metro. It was at the thing the center. The next one in in
Which one?
Dixie. That there's there's a
Okay.
convention center in Dixie
I don't know
Road.
how I know this, but I know it.
Yeah, so that's it. That sex show
Yeah,
went to that one, and when I went there to table my underwear, because
yeah.
the store owner invited me to be a part of it. She said, "Would you love to come?" I said, "Sure." Sell my
Mm,
underwear? Yes. Need my underwear? Yes. Because a lot of people know me in the community. They would say to me, if they when they see me dress up in, they say, "Oh, we're not in your underwear now," because most of the time they always see me in underwear. Because if they go to my Instagram page, I have
yeah,
my underwear, right? Because I have a brand of underwear, and I'm selling
yeah.
fitness, right?
Of course you're
So
gonna wear your
sometimes
underwear.
it's a little bit and how to really position because yes, I own
Mm,
the underwear and I'm into fitness, but
mm,
then when I put all of it together, it's like there is something else bigger than just the guy in an underwear. There is much,
exactly.
much more. He's a writer too. He has a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I have on Instagram and on Amazon in
Yes,
a Kindle version and in
yes.
hard copy, right? Which I do make
Okay.
money from, right? Because I still make money from my book. People are buying my book, right? That's another stream of income that I have right there. So again, too, right?
Yeah.
So going to the sex show, I was
Mm,
there and I saw, it was before a friend said to me, you know what would be cool? Is if you have the firefighters, they have a yearly calendar that them do. It would be so nice if you get them to do your stuff. And it's just like, and this was another store that my
yeah.
underwear was in their store, and they told me about the
Jeez.
firefighters because I didn't know about the firefighters, right?
Mm.
And when I went to the sex show now, I saw this guy walking down the street to one of the firefighters, and I was in my
And you
underwear.
both
I run to them and
like,
I said,
yeah.
"Hey, it's what I said." I said, "Oh, you know what? I'm not the person who do it, but I'm gonna take your number, and when the
Mm.
individual come later in the evening, I'm gonna have them call him." And that they did. That they
And
did.
that is how you network,
And
folks.
that's how I network. Because you see, one of the thing about it is that I have learned not too long ago from
Mm.
a book written by Malcolm Gladwell that says, "Talk to strangers."
Talk to strangers. Yep.
Talk to strangers. And I realized that,
Adults.
yes, and I
Adults.
realized talking to strangers has
Yes.
propelled me in great, path where
Yeah.
I'm able to network. I'm networking, I'm connecting with people, and I'm able
Mm.
to do this stuff. In 2021, I am also by Black's People's Choice Award for 2021.
What's here? You know
Yeah.
what? That's where I've seen you. Yes. Yes, it
You have
makes
seen me
sense.
there?
Yes, because yeah, me and Roger is cool. So that okay. See, there's always a connection with everything. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So 2021 was People's Choice Award, and it was that was generated from my people who went out and voted for me. I think at the time I
Hmm.
get probably like 2,900 people who voted for me, and I won that year. This year, what I want to do, I because they weren't able to do the photo shoot for the last 2 years, so this year we just did
Hmm.
it a couple of weeks ago. We did the photo shoot. While I
Yeah.
was there, I was working like crazy. Now I have some of the best. I have two individuals from the Buy Blacks 2022 winner who is
Hmm.
part of my retreats, right? So one of the person who, which is Resolution Fitness, is
Yeah.
we're going to be doing the boot camp at
Nice.
my retreat, right?
Okay. Yes.
And we have another sister who is going to be coming to talk about, her projects that she's working on, right?
Hmm.
So I'm realizing that in my network, there is lots of power within my network. So I try to leverage the people that I connect with and build relationships because it's all about building relationships, right? I'm a relationship builder. I love to be around people. I love to connect with people. And for me, it's either yes or no. That's it. I'm
Mm.
not asking for anything else. It's yes or no. Because if I come to you and say to you, say, you know what, me, I do this thing, or can you, would you like to be a part of it? And if you say to me, say no,
Boom.
That's no. We move on to
Right.
somebody else. It's almost 8 billion people on the planet, right? And I realized that, it's about leveraging and connecting with individuals and at the same time knowing how those relationships are actually going to let those individuals better off,
Yes.
right? What value can you add to those individuals, right?
And
In the
that's the
networking
key.
process. And that's the key.
That's key. Wow, you've hit a lot of gems right now, and I don't even have to ask you anything about advice because you clearly do it based on networking and talking to strangers and just be like, you're just curious. You're like, "Hmm." And I just love how your passion just connects with everything. You're just like, well, dang, who would have known?
Because what I do too is that I see opportunity in everything. And if
Opportunities.
you're able to see opportunity in everything, then
Mm-hmm.
everything becomes an opportunity.
Bars, no, no, no. You got to say that again. You have to say that again, please. If you see opportunity in everything,
Everything is an opportunity.
then everything is an opportunity. What
Sometimes when the rain a fall, and people start complaining the rain a fall, it's
Mm,
an opportunity because guess what? Somebody needs the rain to fall for them crop to grow,
that is
right?
true.
Some people just like the rain gives them so much joy to see the rain fall. You know what I mean? Because wow, they're because some people like to ski, some people like to be in
To
the
swim.
sun,
Yep.
some
I
people like
prefer the
all
sun.
different types. So there are so I see the rain when the rain falls as an opportunity. It's like sometimes it's like, oh wow, it's like it's growth, it's fresh, it washes off, the street is dirty, it
Yes.
washes off the mess off the street. I mean, it's like you walk in Toronto of late and say, oh, Toronto dirty. Huh? Ugh. So the
That's
rain
true.
falling washes off the street, washes, it cleans it up and takes it
Yes,
away.
makes it more.
So I see it as opportunity.
Nice. I love it. I love it. And I know because you mentioned streams of income. Now I'm gonna ask the question as in, w- what are the three things you wish you knew about personal finance when you were younger? Because I see all these um hats and avenues that you take. Did you know about them when you were growing up, or is this the opportunity that you got while you were in Canada?
Well, while I was in Jamaica, I worked as a retail store buyer. So I
Okay.
would travel to the United States. I've been to Las Vegas 23 times,
Jeez.
right? So you can call me Las Vegas King too. So and I was the same store that actually fostered my fitness dreams, right?
Nice.
That I can say that like the last post I posted a couple of days ago said I did not know that fitness was going to actually shape my future, which it has,
Mm,
right? And while working at the store, I sorry, I just
bless you.
started out and I was hungry. I was quick. My boss was quick, and it's just like you're just so quick. You're quick. And my supervisor would come in and say, "Oh, you're so quick. You just bam, 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 bam." I was one of those person who never get Employee of the Year, but me always get my commission.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, but me always get my commission because I was always good with the customers, right? I'm a
Mm-hmm.
salesperson at heart, right? So, and as time progressed, I became so much involved into the store that I became assistant manager and sales buyer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how it's in the States, right? And with the Vegas and so forth, and then we go to the Magic trade show and the Samoa trade show in Miami, right? So we
Yeah.
go to Magic in Vegas, where I'm going around and I'm picking shoes, I'm picking clothes, I'm looking at style. So even
Yeah.
my own fashion comes from being a part of working in the store where I was able to dress different,
Mm-hmm.
celebrities or politicians or just the general individuals within the country who
Yeah.
live within the city and who come to the store and buy and shop and stuff like that. So, I get those experiences in the beginning of, loving to sell,
Yes.
right?
Yes, yes,
To
yes.
love to
And
sell,
building
right?
relationships.
Building relationships and love to sell, right?
Yeah.
So that, and even the underwear part of it was also from my grandmother, who was a seamstress, right?
Big
So
up
getting into
grandmas
the
that are
film seamstress
seamstress.
part of it now, while I was in Knox College in Mandeville, because I
Hmm.
moved out from home at 15, and I'm now moved on my own at age 15. I was able to use the knowledge I would gain from my grandmother as a young boy. Because I remember
Okay.
at 9 years old, she said, "Come, boy, I'm gonna teach you wash, I'm gonna teach you if you wash, cook, and clean. That when you grow up, you wanna take it on full." Right? And to this day, I have those skills, I have those traits because I can cook, I
Yeah.
can clean my house. You come to my house, have a nice, I keep my place nice, wash,
Hmm.
wipe nicely. You hear anything going on, I wash my
Yep.
nice. Yeah, she would teach me some, so even, because I grew up with only girls. I grew up with, there was no boy that apart from my uncles that was in my house. But my
Hmm.
uncles never lived with us. They only just
Yeah.
come and visit or visit our house. So I
Hmm.
grew up with only girls, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of the traits will rub off, in terms of making sure, do this or you do
Yes,
that,
yes,
and stuff
yes.
like that. So it rub off on me. And move out on my own, I was able to transfer those skills to helping myself, right?
Nice. Hmm.
And into now being the person that I am becoming, right? Because I've always looked at it as the person that I'm continuing to become, right? Because you're here, but you're still becoming who you are, right? So in
Absolutely.
that becoming of me, I realized that those lived experience from an early age has helped me to be the person I am today, and will continue to help to become the person I will continue to become.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Ooh, fire. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. That is lovely. And let me see. There's
Oh, you did ask about the three things I learned about money. So I did
mhm.
write it down. So my grandmother said, one thing she said to me, said, "It's not the amount of money you earn make you a
Mm.
man, it's the amount you save." Right?
Okay.
I will give that nugget. But three things I learned about money, it says spend less than you earn, not more
Mm-hmm.
than spend less than you earn, not more
Yes.
than you earn.
True.
Setting a monthly budget and sticking to it.
Oh gosh, look at
Three,
that.
and three, always have reserve funds for rainy day, which is very important. They call it the Vex money.
Always have the Vex money, yes? No matter what, you have to have the Vex money, or I like to call it these days a safety net, because you never know when it's gonna hit the fan, and then you need something to catch you.
And
So,
that's what the pandemic taught a lot of us.
mm-hmm, yeah, right. And then what? I think you mentioned that pandemic was the turning point of
It was a
you.
turning point for me, yes, in a
Hmm.
significant way, because I was able to increase my income
Yeah.
from I was able to increase my income by $19,000 a year
Golly. Go- A lot of
just
people
by going
can't
back to
say
school.
that.
Just by going back to school.
Just going back.
Just going back to school. And that's on top of my other hustles.
So I guess the best thing to say is having a cash flow is very important.
Streams of income.
Source.
Having a cash flow, but I would
Mm-hmm.
say streams of income, because you want to have those streams, because a cash flow, yes, can be coming from one place, but
True.
if you have streams of income that is coming in, and it's not necessarily mean that it's every time this stream is going to produce, but it does
True.
produce, because for me with my fitness business is that sometimes I love to help individuals with fitness, because I only do a 3 month program. My program is only 3 months and then I move on, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
basically the guy who, if you say, you know what, I've gone to the gym for a long time and I feel stuck and you
Yeah.
want to pick up and carry on again, I'm that guy that's going to be there for you, right? So I prepare a plan for you.
Yeah.
I prepare a plan around exercise,
Mm-hmm.
meal, and
Yeah.
a smoothie, and I give you a copy of my book. I give you an autographed copy of my book, right? So you're basically getting like you're getting a tool, and you're
Yes.
getting information, and you have me for 36 sessions, right? And I work with you for 36 sessions, and then I say to you, okay, I'm giving you the tools, the practical knowledge, then I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to say to you, hey, you should be able to take this and continue on your own,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Nice. Yes.
Because I find that sometimes when you get stuck with one person, then sometimes individual come with problems,
Ah.
they come with, I mean, I'm the kind of guy, I'm a very positive person. As I said to
Yeah.
you earlier, I see opportunity in everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you come with, you're gonna start. No, the energy, I
Yeah.
stay away from energy that are toxic. And if every time I call you, you have headache or you have this or that problem, no, I can't because I find myself that I just I oscillate at this vibration, I
Yes.
vibrate at this level. And if you're
Yes.
down here, so and you can't reach up here, so then we basically feel like there's
It's not
nothing that
gonna
we
work.
can talk about, right? Because sometimes I feel like you're drawing my energy, you're draining my energy.
Mm.
As in church, them say it's just like pour into you, be pour
Yes.
into you.
Yes.
That's how I look at it, right? We
It's
must be able to
absolutely.
pour into you, and you can pour into me because we're meeting at the same level. Because that's what I'm saying too. If you're unequally yoked, so that's how I look at it, right?
Yes.
So it's just finding self and just being in tune with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
finding the opportunities and situations and able to see the streams of income. And at the same time, when my clients and I'm working with them,
Mm-hmm.
is to be that person who is going to, when you come, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to remind you that you are you're God's greatest gift, and that you're a spiritual being having a human experiences. And
Yes.
every moment is different. Every single moment is different because you have the ability to change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing we have,
Yes.
right? Because God gives human choices and He gives birds instincts, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
choices that you make
Yes.
determine the outcome of what your situations be,
True.
right? So I have those conversations with my clients, and we talk about how is it that we can able to get you better. Because for me, it's all about being better. It's not worse, it's better,
Yes.
right? So being better allow you to understand who you are, the
Mm-hmm.
self, the creator, right?
Yeah.
Because if they say that we're gods or we're made in the image and likeness of God, then you're gonna tell me, say, I mean, we must fix up the house. The house just how you buy a nice house and you live in a nice house and pretty apartment, and then you have say, oh, you talk about the wealth, and you teach about wealth and
Mm-hmm.
this and money management. Your house will look good too. You understand
True.
me? And the house will look good is the body. You understand me? Because you
Body
have to
is your
pay
temple.
attention to the body. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much, and that's one of the things that I found now where I'm at, whereas
Mm-hmm.
if you're talking about health,
Yes.
wealth, you
Yes.
first need to talk about health. You need to
That's true.
first talk about health. Because if you don't have health, you can't make the money. There's no
True.
way you can make the money. You
When you're
understand me?
popped down,
When
oof.
you pop down, exactly. Right? When you pop down, you can't make the money if you don't have the energy to wake up to go out to go make the money. And because guess what? There's going to be a lot of stress that comes with it, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It comes with a lot of stress. You need to
Mm.
first fortify yourself. And if you're able to fortify yourself with those building blocks,
Yeah.
right, around the physical health, then you're able to now understand that to withstand, right?
Mm.
And I'm not saying that Andrea Rose is perfect because I'm not, right? That's not the point of this is not with the conversation is not to tell your viewers that I
Mm.
am perfect. I am Mr. Goody Two Shoes. No, I am not. I have faults. I have I have my hidden skeletons, which I'm trying to work on myself to make sure so we can, be in a space where my authentic self can
Mm-hmm.
shine, right?
Yes.
And be the best version of self, right? So I have that. But
Mm-hmm.
aside from everything else, I'm still that individual that has worked a lot on myself. I spend a lot of time to work on myself as it relates to personal development, right?
Yes.
That is my foundation, personal development and finding self as it being authentic, right? So
Mm.
that's one of the greatest thing I believe, as it relates to the things to learn about money and the
Mm-hmm.
things about health and wellness and learning how to put those two pieces together
Together.
and
Yeah.
understand to connect self.
I feel like you've been able to master it in a way to like
Meditate
incorporate
too,
everything. Huh?
because I see a guru behind the head. Meditate, find self, wake up in the morning and set intentions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they say, set intentions. You get off of your bed, you realize that I am in control of today, and today is not in control of me, right?
True.
You're able to set those intentions first.
Yes.
You're like, okay, you know what, man, I'll go to work today, but I really want to go. But say it pays the bills, and say Motor Eliza go come at your cubicle, come create whatever she gonna come there. But you know that when you go there, you already prepare yourself because say, you know what? Because I know some Motor Eliza gonna come on my desk today. I'm just gonna just listen to Motor Eliza, and I'm just gonna just like hum in my heart.
Mm.
I can just look at Motor Eliza and say, okay, yes. You know, that's it.
That's true. 'Cause I mean, starting the day off right is the key, and then also having a plan, and then having I'm loving how many streams of income that you have and how much time or not like I know you don't have time, but you find time. And
Fine.
I love that. And
Because you see, I make time for what's important. I make time for what's important, and that what makes the difference. Because
mm,
if the individuals who are doing whatever they're doing don't make time, because my calendar,
mm,
every single day there's something that is in my calendar, right? But even though something is in my calendar, I still
yeah.
have free times to do a little stuff, right? Because I work 5 days a week. But
Hmm.
then even though I work 5 days a week, I try to hire individuals to do some of the things that I need. What I can't do, I hire people to do it. My social media, my
Yeah.
website, stuff like that. And then on
Team.
weekends, I have weekends that I try to do a lot of back-to-back stuff on the weekends. And in the
Hmm.
evening, when I come home from work, I make
Yeah.
sure that I have stuff in the evening. So I prioritize
Yes.
my days to say, okay, this. Sometimes for your meal prep, I make sure that I have, meal for 2 days, that I don't have to worry about, okay, having to cook, sometimes,
Mm.
say, okay, may have food already prepared, right?
Yeah.
And if when I go out for networking, may have somebody may call me, or say,
Yes.
okay, XYZ, there's an event here, or I go, or a friend may call and say, okay, Andre, I have some food, would you like some food? And I
Mm.
food, there's like dinner, and like so there's always something coming in, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it flows and it flows and it flows.
I love it. I love it. And what other avenues do you have coming up? Because I feel like even though you're busy, I feel like you still have you're like there's still opportunity to do more.
There's still opportunities to do more. One thing I had thought about 5 years ago, which I didn't do, was to start the
Mm.
Andre Rose Foundation.
Okay.
So I am thinking about to create the Andre Rose Foundation
Mhm.
around something that I'm passionate about. Because I realized that when I started my business, there was a lot of hurdles that I faced when I started my business,
Mhm.
which I'm not saying that it hasn't made it better now with a lot of the tools, because
Yeah.
it's basically about tools and systems. Running a
Yeah.
business is basically tools and systems, right? So
Indeed.
I think there's a lot of tools and systems that's out there now, but there is still a lot as it relates to like how to do for a grant writer. You want a grant writer. How do you find somebody that is able to do a grant writing proposal for you? Do you have the
Mm.
money to pay the person for the grant writing? Where are you going to get
Mm.
the money from, right?
True.
I mean, I've never written for a grant before. I've just written for my first grant like a couple of weeks ago, written for my first grant of all these times of business. Because I always felt like I never needed to, or even to go to the bank. Because
Mhm.
well, I've been to the bank twice to
Yeah.
seek money. I've been to BDC, right? And when I went there, I had my business plan. I
Yeah.
submitted it. They called me for an interview. I
Mhm.
went and never went nowhere. I went to Futurepreneur, Futurepreneur. I went to
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Futurepreneur,
Yeah.
at the time they said, okay, you know what, XYZ, my credit was probably about 600 or something. They said my credit is too weak for me to get a grant from them. And then you needed to be 39 years old. The cutoff was 39 years old for in order for you to
Jeez.
get a business grant from Futurepreneur. So I wasn't in that category. So
Mm-hmm.
I realized the streams of income was what was able to help me to move from one to the next. We take the money from right here, so
Yeah.
to do that. So my fitness business, I was able to take money from my fitness business to put it in my underwear because my underwear don't make as much money as my fitness business, right? So, but because the underwear still makes money, but not
Yeah.
in great quantity, I still continue the same. Because when I go out, people were like, "Oh, you have an underwear," they will buy. Father's Day coming up, you right? So now I'm producing underwear for Father's Day, right?
Yeah.
So, I go out and I table, I make a couple of dollars right there. So I make a couple $100 right there, right? But it still doesn't bring in the huge amount of money
That
as
the
my fitness
fitness.
business, right? Or as the projects that I work on, right?
Yeah.
So or even my full-time job, right? So it's money here, money there that comes in to help me to do this, to do that, and then you still have to end up paying individuals, what else to do the websites, the social
Mm-hmm.
media,
Yeah.
the manufacturer for the
Keep it
underwear,
running.
to keep it going, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I, take one to do the other one.
That that's amazing. Then you said with the
Yeah, so I was talking about
supply chain.
the foundation, the Andre Rose
Yes.
Foundation.
Sorry, yes, the
Is to-
foundation.
The foundation is to see how I can create the foundation around providing support to young, because for me it's always going to be younger, right?
Yes.
And individuals who are in need. So that's, I think, the next part of what I'm looking to do. Also to
Mm-hmm.
create conferences around mental health.
That's a good one. And then you have a black owned company that
Yeah,
or venue
yeah.
that is a great idea. And I'm really happy that we had that discussion at the beginning with the prostate because that awareness is important. And like I'm saying, and I'm looking straight into the camera, men, please, especially if you're in your 40s, mid 40s, 50s, please be aware.
But the funny part about it too is that men in their 30s get it too.
That is true. That is
Men in
true.
their 30s. I've known guys in their 30s. And even though one of the things that I've learned too is that even though prostate cancer is hereditary from your father, it also
Mhm.
comes from your mother too, because I've known people who get it from from their mom, and
Hmm.
worse from their mother. Yes.
I'm so sorry. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Mm, that I'm just really happy we had that discussion because I love to, like even though I'm all about finance and stuff, but health does matter when it comes to your finance because like as we said, if you're sick, you're popped down, how are you gonna make the money, right? But if you at least have different streams and able to have a team, you'll be able to and be healthy and stay fit. And it's getting warm. It's getting warm. So
Yeah. As
I want to be outside.
a section of your show, what you could do is to create a section around health.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
marry health and finance together, because you need to be healthy for your finance, because if you're not healthy for your finance, or somebody's going to spend your money. Somebody else is going to spend your money, right? So that's a good tagline right there already.
Ah, that's
Somebody
so
else is gonna
funny.
spend
I'm I'm gonna
Yeah, somebody else is going to spend your money. If you're not healthy enough, somebody else is going to spend your money. And it works perfectly. Don't make somebody else spend your money. Get healthy. Get checked. Get your prostate checked. Know your vitals. Know your PSA level early. All of those
mm,
kind of stuff. So and for me, wherever I am able to share the word around prostate cancer,
mm,
I am greatly, appreciative, because it may be 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or even 1,000 people more is going to learn about prostate cancer, because it's not it's not easy, as young men or man who, when you hear their stories and the suffering that they go through.
mm,
So yeah, it's a conversation that needs to be had. and it needs to, brought to the fore that don't talk about the masculinity thing and man too masculine, you're macho. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean nobody not telling you don't be macho, but when it comes to your health, the health is important. If you're not healthy, there's a lot of things you can't do if you're not healthy, right?
Exactly.
And it's important. It's just an important topic that needs to be had.
And I'm glad we had it. And I'm like I'm really happy we had that conversation because
That is it.
I was like, oh, hold on, give me a second. Let's go down this path and all that stuff. And how can everyone find you, Andre?
Wow. Well, social media, of course.
Hmm.
Google me, Andre Rose. You come up in Google. I mean,
True, you are on.
I'm Googleable. And on Instagram, it's the Andre Rose Fitness for my Instagram page, which is
Yes.
where in there the link tree, I have a link tree that takes individuals to, if they want to purchase a copy of my book. And
Mhm.
Amazon, it's in hard copy and Kindle version.
Yes.
Uh, I also do my exercise online training as well too. I have a section on it where pre-recorded sections where it's only $100 that individuals are able to buy the
Mm.
pre-recorded 12 weeks personal training online for part. And then I
Yes.
have a section as well where we do the in-person part of the program as well. This one is just a 36 weeks program, 36 session training
Sessions. Yeah.
for 3 months
Hmm.
where we meet in person within the GT within on Toronto.
Yes. Yes.
And I come to you whether you have a gym, because a gym in your building, or whether you
Hmm.
have a gym in your apartment, or you're just looking for skip the gym kind of thing. You can't bother with, to go to the gym to go sweat up with people inside there. You just want somebody to come to your house and work with you. I'm able to
Hmm.
do that as well. I create a food plan.
Nice.
You get a copy of my book, and we make sure that we get that something. The only thing that I ask for is
Mm.
commitment, right? All I ask for is commitment. That
Yes.
if you pay for a service, I ask for you to just commit to the process,
Hmm.
because one, it make you look good, and two, it make me looks better, right? Because what find happen, or it make me look good, but it make you look better, right? Some people
Yes.
will
Yes.
say, "Oh, who's your trainer?" And they will say, "Oh, it's the guy Andre Rose Fitness." And then go and they will say, "Oh, but him a trainer. They look how he look good, how he look." You understand me? So that's where I talk about my image. That my image to me is important. That if you say is that person train you,
Hmm.
it must resonate that you are committed to, because one, you're in my presence for only an hour. But
Yes.
what do you do for that next 23 hours that I'm not in your presence? What do you do? Do you
Exactly.
still go back and eat those drunk food? Do you still, you not sleep well? So it's a complete hand to
Ch-
hand.
yeah.
You know,
It's you have to be committed to the
yeah,
progress and all
yeah,
that stuff. Trust the progress
of course.
so you can be better and all that good stuff.
Always better. It's always about being better, better,
Abs-
better, better.
And Andre, is there anything you want to tell the folks before we head out?
Well, yes, I would love individuals to come to the Wellness Rebound Retreat,
I'm
which
going to
is going
put
to
in
happen
this.
on August the 5th, which is August the 5th, under the
Mm-hmm.
theme, Get Out of the Fog. If you're a Carabana person, then this event may not be for you. But if you are a person who have been, or, you're out over Carabana, or this weekend you just want to just, find an event that you just want to be a part of. And as
Mm-hmm.
I said, my personal goal for this year for the organization is to raise $5,000 for the organization. Uh, the retreat itself is also able to raise funds for the organization. So I would love that support there as well. And ensure that individual also visit the walnutfoundation.com. If you're somebody who just got recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, or somebody who have prostate cancer who may be willing, and receptive to the information that we provide, we do have a monthly support group that individuals are able to come and speak about, if they're recently diagnosed with prostate cancer and they want to come and talk. we have that available as well. So, and then the walk that's going to be taking place on June
June 3rd.
3rd at
Yeah.
Brampton at Loafers Lake. So if individuals who live in Brampton who would love to come out to the walk at Loafers Lake on June 3rd from 8:30 to about 11:30, 12 o'clock in the morning, this one is going
Gosh.
to be a big one because we have our honorary chair, Mr. Ivan Downs, which is the International Painters and Allied Trade Political Director,
Nice.
which is the honorary chair for this year. So this year is going to be a big walk. So I would implore people to come out, follow the Walnut Foundation on their social media page. And of
Mhm.
course, you can find me, Andre Rose. And if you're looking to buy underwear, you can just go to SteeleByAndreRose, which is the underwear page. And of course, you can also support me as well there too. Yeah. And I would love for you guys to just take care of yourself, because as much as it's all about money,
Mhm.
if you don't have health, you can't take care of your money because somebody else gonna spend it for you.
Yeah. And I think that's a great Father's Day gift, or not for my dad. That'd be awkward. But like, other or men that are fathers, young men that are fathers.
You need to send me your because I need to give you a personal autograph copy of my book.
Absolutely.
So I need
Oh,
to come and find you so we
yes,
can get you
sir.
a personal autograph copy of my book.
Boy, that'd be wicked. And Andre, thank you so much for coming through. Like, honestly, I'm so happy we had this conversation. Like, you don't even understand. Like, I'm actually ecstatic that we had this conversation.
I
So
appreciate you
thank you.
having me.
Yes, sir. And then you know what? It's that time I'm not going to struggle this time because now I know how to do things. But we're out, and enjoy your weekend, everyone. And make sure you like, subscribe, and tell someone that you love them. And
Hug
let's
them. Hug them up.
eat. Hug them up, and make sure you normalize talking about prostate because that is actually really important. I'm ecstatic that we're talking about this. So big up.
Literacy, knowledge is a must. So link the flip boss, watch the result flash, and watch your life change. And for a better cause, you have a business or a plan and want to make it. Yeah, flip and floss, are the one to manifest it. Yeah, and if you want to better manage all your credit, call the boss. Flip and floss, no doubt, then we do it. Yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, boots up your knowledge for your minimal cost. Hey, yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, up your knowledge for your minimal cost.